10 things that change when you start walking every single day. What if the most powerful medicine on the planet has been hiding in plain sight and it costs you absolutely nothing? Scientists have discovered that a simple daily walk doesn't just burn calories, it physically rebuilds your brain, reverses aging at the cellular level, and can stop Alzheimer's before it starts. We're not talking about marathons, gym memberships, or expensive supplements that promise the world and deliver nothing. We're talking about walking, the most underestimated, underprescribed, and misunderstood health tool in human history. But here's what nobody tells you. There's a right way and a wrong way to do this, and most people are doing it completely wrong. If you walk aimlessly with no structure, no intention, and no understanding of what's actually happening inside your body, you're leaving every single benefit on the table. That's why at the end of this, I'm giving you the FIT formula, a science-backed blueprint built on 3 precise variables: frequency, intensity, and time. This is the exact protocol that unlocks every transformation we're about to discuss, and once you understand it, you'll never think about walking the same way again. Let's get into the 10 things that change when you start walking every single day. Benefit 10, the brain reboot. Right now, over 35 million people worldwide are living with dementia or Alzheimer's, and that number is projected to double within the next 20 years. A landmark study out of the University of Kansas revealed something that should stop you cold. Sedentary behavior doesn't just fail to protect the brain, it actively accelerates its destruction. The key is a structure buried deep inside your skull called the hippocampus, your brain's command center for memory, learning, and emotional regulation. Here's what most people never hear. The hippocampus physically shrinks with age, and when it shrinks past a critical threshold, cognitive decline becomes almost inevitable. But researchers discovered something extraordinary. People who walk regularly don't just slow this shrinkage, they actually reverse it. When you walk, your body triggers a surge of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which is essentially fertilizer for your neurons. Blood rushes into the brain's deepest structures, new neural vessels form, and the hippocampus begins to grow in volume, measurably, physically, visibly on a brain scan. You are not just going for a walk, you are building a bigger, stronger, more resilient brain, one step at a time. The people who skip this are not just losing fitness, they are accelerating their own cognitive erosion without knowing it. Benefit 9, the ocular pressure release. This one sounds impossible the first time you hear it, but the mechanics are undeniable and the research is rock solid. Walking saves your eyesight. Glaucoma, the so-called silent thief of sight, affects over 80 million people globally and is the leading cause of irreversible blindness. It works by building pressure inside the eye. Intraocular fluid accumulates like water behind a cracking dam, slowly crushing the optic nerve until vision disappears permanently. The Glaucoma Research Foundation confirmed what scientists had long suspected. Regular aerobic walking acts as a natural pressure release valve for the eyes. It stabilizes blood flow, regulates the circulatory system that feeds eye tissue, and systematically lowers intraocular pressure over time. High-intensity exercise, ironically, can sometimes spike this pressure, but walking hits the sweet spot, engaging the cardiovascular system without triggering the pressure surge. You are literally, mechanically, walking away from blindness, and most optometrists will never tell you this in a 10-minute appointment. The eyes and the legs are connected through the most underappreciated circulatory chain in the human body, and walking is the key that keeps that chain moving. Benefit 8, The cardiac shield. We have been fed a lie for decades that unless you're running, sweating through a spin class, or paying for a heart rate monitor, your cardiovascular system isn't benefiting. The American Heart Association reviewed decades of data and published a conclusion that shook the fitness industry. Walking is just as effective as running in preventing coronary heart disease and stroke. Read that again, just as effective. The mechanism is blood pressure modulation. Your arteries are elastic, living structures, and they respond to the steady rhythmic demand that walking places on them. A 30-minute daily walk acts like a natural beta blocker, widening the arterial walls, lowering LDL cholesterol, and pushing oxygen-rich blood through your system with a force that scrubs plaque from the inside. Running produces cortisol spikes, joint stress, and inflammatory responses that can paradoxically damage the cardiovascular system when done excessively. Walking gives you all the heart protection with none of the collateral damage. It is the most efficient cardiac investment a human being can make. Every day you don't walk, your arteries are becoming slightly more rigid, slightly more narrow, slightly less capable of doing their job. Every day you do walk, you are actively reversing that process, quietly, powerfully, for free. Benefit 7. The lung expansion engine. Most people think of the lungs as passive. They inflate, they deflate, they do what they do. But the respiratory system is far more dynamic than that, and walking is one of the most powerful ways to unlock its full potential. When you sit for hours, your diaphragm barely moves, your lower lung lobes stagnate, and waste gases, carbon dioxide, metabolic byproducts, accumulate in the respiratory tissue. Walking forces the diaphragm into full rhythmic contraction, driving oxygen deep into the lungs and pushing stale, toxic air out with every exhale. This isn't just about breathing better, it's about immune function, because the stress of chronic lung stagnation suppresses the body's first line of defense against infection. Deep walking-induced breathing expels waste gases, increases oxygen saturation in the blood, and signals the immune system to upregulate its activity. People who walk regularly get sick less often, not by coincidence, because of a direct biological mechanism rooted in respiratory rhythm. Your lungs are not meant to sit still, they are meant to work, and walking is the most natural, sustainable way to put them to work every single day. Benefit 6. The pancreatic reset. Duke University ran a 6-month clinical trial that turned everything we thought we knew about exercise and blood sugar upside down. They put 2 groups head-to-head, runners versus walkers, and tracked glucose tolerance, insulin sensitivity, and metabolic markers across the board. The walkers won, and not by a small margin. The walking group demonstrated a 6 times greater improvement in glucose tolerance compared to the running group. 6 times. The reason is counterintuitive but scientifically precise. When you sprint, your body burns glucose in a furious emergency response that actually trains it to crave more sugar to refuel. When you walk, you teach your body to metabolize glucose slowly, efficiently, and sustainably, which over time dramatically reduces the amount of insulin the pancreas needs to produce. Less insulin demand means less pancreatic strain, and for the 96 million Americans currently classified as pre-diabetic, this is not a lifestyle tip, it is a clinical intervention. Running may be burning more calories in the moment, but walking is reprogramming your metabolic software at a level that running simply cannot match. If your blood sugar is a problem or heading towards becoming one, walking is not just better than nothing, it is better than the alternative. Benefit 5. The digestive engine. Your gut is a muscle system, and like every muscle system, it operates on a simple principle: move it or lose it.
A study tracking over 150,000 individuals across multiple years found a stark, undeniable correlation between sedentary behavior and colon cancer mortality. Active people don't just survive at higher rates, they develop the disease at dramatically lower rates in the first place. The mechanism is peristalsis, the rhythmic, wave-like muscular contractions that move food through your digestive tract from stomach to exit. Just 30 minutes of walking per day is enough to accelerate peristaltic movement, reduce transit time, and create an internal environment that is profoundly hostile to colorectal disease. For those already dealing with digestive issues, bloating, constipation, or IBS, walking is often the single most effective intervention that costs nothing and carries zero side effects.
You are mechanically moving your food, managing your waste, and protecting one of the most cancer-vulnerable organs in the body just by putting one foot in front of the other. Benefit 4. The muscle illusion. The fitness industry has spent decades convincing you that transformation requires a gym, a trainer, a protein shake, and a recovery day. Here is what they don't want you to know. 10,000 well-executed steps can rival a gym session for muscle tone, metabolic activation, and physical conditioning. The critical difference is impact. High-intensity gym work tears muscle fibers and inflames joints, requiring 24 to 72 hours of recovery before you can train again. Walking is low impact, which means there is no recovery window. You can do it every single day, compounding the benefits continuously without interruption. But form matters enormously. A lazy shuffle does nothing, while a properly executed walk engages the glutes, hamstrings, core, and upper body simultaneously. Keep the spine long and tall, drive the elbows back at 90 degrees, engage the core with each stride, and stabilize the pelvis to prevent the sideways rocking that bleeds your energy. Done correctly, walking is a full-body conditioning tool that works silently, consistently, and without the injury risk that derails most gym programs within the first 60 days. The best workout is the one you can do every day for the rest of your life, and walking is exactly that. Benefit 2. Skeletal fortification. Your bones are not inert scaffolding. They are living, dynamic tissue that responds directly to the physical demands you place on them. The principle is Wolff's Law. Bone grows stronger in response to mechanical stress and weakens in the absence of it. Osteoporosis, the silent epidemic affecting over 200 million people globally, is not inevitable. It is the consequence of years of insufficient skeletal demand. When you walk, each foot strike sends a small mechanical impulse through the bone, and this triggers a phenomenon called piezoelectricity, where the bone generates a tiny electrical charge. That charge is a signal to osteoblasts, the cells responsible for building new bone tissue, telling them to activate, to construct, to reinforce. The Arthritis Foundation confirmed that 30 minutes of daily walking reduces joint inflammation, improves bone density, and lowers the risk of stress fractures, the opposite of what most people fear from impact activity. Running can fracture vulnerable bones because the force is too great, too sudden, and too repetitive. Walking hits the exact threshold that stimulates bone growth without crossing into damage territory. It is the biological sweet spot for skeletal health. Every step is an electrical message to your skeleton that says stay strong, stay dense, stay alive. Benefit 2. Spinal decompression. Back pain is the single most common cause of disability worldwide, and the two things most people do in response make it dramatically worse. They rest completely, which starves the spine of movement, or they pursue high-impact exercise, which hammers already compromised structures. Walking is the precise middle path that the spine was literally designed for.
Here's the anatomy most people never learn. Your spinal discs have no direct blood supply. They are avascular, meaning they cannot absorb nutrients through the bloodstream the way other tissues can. Instead, they function like sponges. They absorb nutrients when compressed and squeezed, and release waste when the pressure is released. This means the spine is entirely dependent on movement to stay nourished, and walking provides exactly the right pumping rhythm that cycles nutrients in and waste products out of every disc between every vertebrae. Beyond the discs, walking also strengthens the erector spinae, the deep postural muscles that run the length of the spine and are responsible for holding you upright with minimal strain. Most chronic back pain is not structural damage. It is the result of weak, understimulated postural muscles that have been neglected by years of sitting. Walking rebuilds those muscles, decompresses the discs, improves alignment, and gradually dissolves the stiffness that has been compounding for years. You are not just walking, you are oiling the most complex mechanical structure in the human body, one stride at a time. Benefit 1. The chemical exorcism. Everything we've discussed so far has been physical, but the number one benefit of daily walking operates at the level of your mind, your mood, and your fundamental experience of being alive. The Journal of Psychiatric Research conducted a controlled study on 50 individuals diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and the results were not subtle. Walking 30 minutes a day, sustained over several weeks, dismantled clinical depression symptoms with an effectiveness that rivaled pharmaceutical intervention. The mechanism is a chemical cascade. Walking burns off cortisol, the stress hormone that accumulates during anxiety, overwork, and chronic worry, and simultaneously triggers the release of endorphins, serotonin, and BDNF. Iowa State University researchers discovered something even more remarkable. Walking improved mood in participants who weren't even trying to feel better and who weren't aware the study was measuring emotional state. The effect was automatic, biological, and non-negotiable. Depression, anxiety, and mental fog require a specific internal chemistry to sustain themselves, and walking dismantles that environment one step at a time. You cannot remain in a state of depressive paralysis while your body is in purposeful forward motion. The two states are biologically incompatible. This is not motivational language. This is neuroscience, and it is the most powerful reason to get up and walk today. The FIT formula, your execution blueprint. You now know what walking does to your body, but knowledge without execution is just entertainment. Most people fail not because they don't want the results. They fail because they treat walking like a casual afterthought instead of a precision protocol. Here is the FIT formula, 3 non-negotiable variables that determine whether you get every benefit we've discussed or none of them. F, frequency. The target is daily, every single day without exception, because your cells require a consistent signal to adapt and rebuild. If you are starting from 0, begin with 3 to 5 days per week and build from there, but understand that sporadic walking produces sporadic results. Even 5 minutes counts. The non-negotiable is the repetition, not the duration, especially at the start. I, intensity. This is where most people quietly sabotage themselves. They walk too slowly, phone in hand, barely elevating their heart rate above resting. You need to reach the talk test zone, moving at roughly 2.5 to 3.5 miles per hour, where you can speak in short sentences but would struggle to hold a full, comfortable conversation. If you can sing effortlessly, you are strolling. If you are gasping for air, you've crossed into stress territory. Find the edge between those two states and hold it. T, time. The biological threshold for triggering the full cascade of benefits is 30 minutes. Below that, you get partial effects. At 30 minutes and beyond, the body shifts into full repair and adaptation mode. Begin with 6,000 steps as your daily baseline rather than obsessing over the mythologicized 10,000. Master the foundation before expanding the target. As your capacity grows, extend the duration, not the intensity. Time compounds the benefits in a way that speed alone cannot replicate. Final orders. Drink water before you walk. A dehydrated body is a seized engine, and even mild dehydration dramatically reduces the cardiovascular and cognitive benefits. Swing your arms actively with every stride. This engages the upper body, increases caloric burn by up to 10%, and improves the rhythmic coordination that makes walking neurologically beneficial. Walk at the same time every day. Habit formation is architecture, and morning walks specifically reset your circadian rhythm, regulate cortisol, and set the neurological tone for the entire day ahead. You now have the diagnosis, the mechanism, and the formula. The pharmaceutical industry cannot patent a walk around the block. The gym industry cannot charge you for a sidewalk. This is free. It is available to you right now, and it is more powerful than most things doctors will ever write on a prescription pad. You have two choices. Let the rust accumulate, let the brain shrink, the bones thin, the blood sugar climb, and the back stiffen. Or you can stand up, lace your shoes, and begin reclaiming your biology one deliberate step at a time. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is always right now. Your body is not waiting for permission. It is waiting for you. Start today.